Good afternoon. I'm Whitney Middlebrooks with the Lexington Housing Authority. We are so happy that you are here with us this afternoon again for a wonderful workshop that we have in store. We are focusing on our health and wellness this month, and we have a wonderful presenter here, and I'll let her introduce herself. First, we'll just have Miss Sage go, and she'll give her introduction in reference to the Boss Initiative.
Yes, we are here once again for the Boss Initiative Got It, Get It, Good series. And today it is Got Health. And that is your health is actually your wealth. And so we are living in a time that we know what that means. Our health is everything. We have a wonderful presenter today, Miss Nicole Augustine. She actually is a community health education specialist, and she has worked in the areas of prevention and early intervention for over 10 years. So I'll allow her to tell you something about herself and what she'll be covering in today's presentation.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon to both you and Whitney. I am so excited to be with you all today on this live broadcast. This is actually kind of fun to do a live broadcast. I'm excited about this. I'm sure some of you have been a part of these before, so you know to chat with us, to interact with us. I have portions of the conversation where I want to hear from you. So don't be shy. And today, let me go ahead and share my screen here. We are talking about health is your wealth. And so we'll be doing a few things, having a discussion about what the 8 dimensions of wellness are. I want to talk about those and really get you to take some time to think about wellness holistically and how that also includes going to the doctor, visits, that sort of thing. And then the last part I have a special guest with me today to talk about eating well on a budget and really having a conversation on how to do it. She'll provide great tips for you all. And again, like I said, utilize the chat feature to ask questions while she's here. And I'll host a bit of an interview with her. So I'm very excited about that. So to get started, I want to introduce the 8 dimensions of wellness, which actually was developed by SAMHSA. Now, SAMHSA is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Agency. And they have these 8 dimensions of wellness that I think are really, really great for covering all aspects of what it means to be well. And so the first one I want to think about is emotional wellness. And as you see this, this is really about what are you doing to make sure you're in tune with your feelings, that you're coping with and expressing your feelings in a healthy way. And as you're thinking about this side of emotional wellness, I think something I want to kind of talk and have a part of every piece of this is thinking about our current situation with COVID-19 and social distancing and health and wellness. And if we think about our emotional health, what has it been like the last several months of dealing with such a huge shift and change in our society? And so if you're live right now and you're chatting, I'd be curious for you all to think about what are some of the ways you know that you're emotionally in tune or that you're emotionally off balance? How do you know that? What's your check-in for yourself? How do you know when you're emotionally well? I'd be curious if folks have any thoughts around that they
Well,
would be
if no
willing
one
to
has added anything, I'll definitely chime in first to get the
share.
conversation started.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know that I'm not emotionally well, just my body will start shutting down on me. Sometimes I get really, really sleepy, and I think that can be a trigger of just maybe feeling overwhelmed. And
Mm-hmm.
the only thing I can think about is taking a nap. And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of times it's because I'm not dealing with something. So the easiest thing to do is to retreat, let me go to sleep. But I know my body starts to shut down when I get really sleepy and I kind of don't want to be
Yeah.
bothered. And I know that kind of messes with my imbalance and my and being healthy.
Yeah, and that's a great example. So we know, right, that or maybe some of us don't know that our emotions are connected to the physical. So to hear you describe, right, recognizing that I'm out of balance and what my body does when I don't deal with it right is shut down. you
Mhm.
sleep, right? Instead of dealing with the emotional piece.
Yep.
So these things are so much interconnected. And as we start
Also,
talking,
I have a comment actually from someone I want to
oh,
share.
great. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so we have Miss Bethany Ely. Hey, Bethany. She says when I'm able to get a good night's sleep, I guess that she's speaking. That's when she's feeling better. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, and
yeah,
we also have another comment from Facebook. Is just feeling restless when you can't get sleep. So that feeling, that's when they feel kind of imbalanced or off balance. So that's the same thing I kind of shared. So we all kind of are feeling that with the sleep part.
yeah. That's great. This is great. So, emotional health and wellness is important because when we're out of balance, it affects us physically, and we'll talk a little bit more about the physical stuff. So, spiritual, and I'll admit, I was really happy to see that spirituality is a part of the eight dimensions of wellness. But this is really thinking about what are your guiding beliefs? What do you believe in? What anchors you? What are your values? What are your principles? These are the things that give you direction in life. And it's such a strong component of being well and being balanced is being spiritually connected and tethered. So again, I'd love for folks to chat and chime in here. How do you stay spiritually grounded and connected? What's your connection to spirituality? And just
Well,
to share some of those.
I'm going to say, as far as spirituality, we all were brought up with, as they say, the God or the religion of our parents. But
Mm-hmm.
as we grow older and we mature, we have to start to take in different aspects or different things that maybe we weren't introduced, or maybe you might have strayed from the things you were introduced as a child, and you find yourself as an adult going back to those practices.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, like I learned recently from a spiritual program that I just completed, that you got to take your emotional temperature. I never heard of that. But
Yeah.
they say you should check your emotional temperature because a lot of times we are so in our head and we're so distracted by all the to dos that we don't know how we're feeling. We don't know how to verbalize the feeling. And sleep isn't a bad thing when you have mental fatigue. Just shut it all down. Say, God, you got this. That's my prayer. I'm going to go to sleep. When I wake up, I know you got it handled.
Wake up and he's got it.
Yeah. I actually have another comment from Facebook. Ms. Nicole, can you see it?
I can't. No, go ahead.
So one of the with the question of how do you what is guiding you spiritually, Mona Middlebrooks from Facebook came in and stated that meditation and prayer is something that she does and really focuses on to kind of keep her in balance. And she also left a comment about it protecting her energy and keeping her emotions in check. It's just trying, and I guess with that prayer and meditation is what helps her, kind of helps guide her and keeps her on track. So
Yeah. All really great suggestions. So I love what the comment that was saying, what Sage was saying also is there's this truth, right? As we're young, a lot of us, our spiritual connection is grounded in whoever raised us, right? But as we become adults, we step into this place of awareness and this recognition that spirituality is important to our own personal emotional wellness, our overall health and wellness. I love the ideas around meditation and anything that's going to anchor you is an important part of being balanced, right? And giving connectedness and purpose to life, really.
Mhm.
So this is great, great. So we've done two so far: emotional and spiritual, intellectual wellness.
mm,
Okay. So again, this reminds me of sometimes when you think about the triad of mind, body, spirit. Okay.
Mhm.
Intellectual wellness is important. We are creatures that enjoy learning, no
Mhm.
matter what level of learning you're at, whether you're a baby or a grown up, right? Learning is actually natural curiosity. It's why we do what we do every day. And so you want to make sure that a part of your balance is being intellectually stimulated. What gets your mind going? Are you seeking new information? Are you learning new things every day? I was uh, had a conversation actually with the woman you all will meet a little bit later. And it reminded me of this where she was like, for a long time we thought the world was flat. You couldn't tell nobody the world wasn't flat, right?
Mhm.
But as we grow and we learn new information, that's how we become better, right? So you always want to be pushing yourself to be challenged intellectually because maybe you'll learn that the world is round on a
True.
topic that you thought was flat,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
I
Oh,
like that because I was diagnosed with diabetes. And so if I wasn't open minded to try and learn from other people, get some new information, what is my new norm now, I would really have a problem.
yeah,
Because sometimes, your life could change without your permission. But if you say, "Oh, I ain't going to read no book, or I'm just going to shut it out and
yeah,
as
yeah,
if and act as if, right, it's going to go away on its own." And they say, what, knowledge is power.
it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Okay. This is great. Okay, the next one is physical. All right, so this is thinking about the actual body, right? And I think when a lot of times when people think of wellness, this is probably the first place they go. This is some of the reason we end up visiting the doctor, thinking about aches and
So
pains in the body. Yes.
before you go, I want to share a comment that we have from our
Sure.
YouTube page
Yeah,
that goes back to just the intellectual stimulation.
for
And
sure.
we have a comment from Miss Ely on YouTube. She said over the past months, she's been really studying and researching Black history and psychology. It has helped her understand her roots and even heal from things that she didn't even know was an issue.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank Bethany for that.
Yeah. Was there another comment?
It was just that one, and I just wanted to share that one because I
No, I
think
love that.
definitely in the time and age that we're in, of if just knowledge right now is awareness and
Yeah.
being intellectually aware is so key and important. So I appreciate that comment. We do have one more, and we have Miss Betty Gregory. She's on our Facebook right now. She says watching too. She says important even to read to babies and young children to create curiosity and to let them know that they have an adventure in books. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
can appreciate both of those comments
Mm,
uh, because when I spoke about parenting in the age of technology, that was one of the things they brought up, how technology doesn't allow you to really use a facility, which is your imagination, and
yes.
how important imagination is to growth and development. But
Absolutely.
based on what Bethany said, there's this saying about know thyself.
Hmm.
And so when she says that she's exploring psychology as well as Black history and looking at the impact
Hmm.
of the history as far as it relates to her personally, that's very important because knowing thyself is one of the keys to healing.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
You guys are getting me excited. This is like a really great conversation. I'm enjoying this. So
yeah,
back to the physical. Now, I would say this is the space where, like I was saying, where people think about a lot when it comes to wellness, like my actual body. This is where you feel your pains, your aches, all the other stuff that we don't touch. It gets manifested here on the physical side, right? From sleeping to our activity and those sort of things. And as you see here, even how people might use substances as a way of coping with physical stuff. One of the things that I want to mention here is specifically where people think about a lot when it comes. Oh, I'm hearing feedback. Okay. So the one thing I was going to say is it's interesting to think about how COVID-19 has affected this particular piece here. And I'm really thinking about how we interact with the medical field, with doctors, and that sort of thing, because that's significantly changed. If any of you, here right now have had to visit the doctor here in the last few months, had any sort of hospitalization in the last few months, that whole system has changed. And I would say that itself can create stress and unbalance, right? The best recommendation I've been given here lately around how to interact, especially with the hospital system during COVID-19, because of all the restrictions, is to make sure that you have some sort of cell phone with you. if you have access to a cell phone, and that you designate someone who is going to be outside of the facility that you can connect with, that you can have on speaker and have on the phone, because a lot of times you're no longer able to have a guest come with you. And if
Mhm.
you think about making a trip to the doctor, making a trip to the hospital, it's already stressful, and then you have to do it alone because of COVID-19, right? And the best advice I got is take your phone and have the line open to talk with somebody, someone who can be an advocate for you, to help answer questions, to also help hear things, because you can have your phone even though you can't have a person in space.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to pause here if there are any comments or questions on the physical part.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right. So environmental. Now, I like this one too. And the reason I like this one too, because this reminds me of the dimension around spirituality. Someone mentioned it earlier, thinking about what's in your environment, the energy, right? So a part of wellness is actually thinking about your physical environment, from either your home, your space, your apartment, your community, right? How well are we taking care of our spaces where we live, our spaces that feed our spirit? So, and I happen to be a little bit what some people call woo woo because I think about things like the energy in your space. I like to sage if I'm in a new space, or if I feel like I've had too many different people in my space. And that's what this dimension is about, is recognizing that we do live in harmony with our nature. Whether we choose to believe it or not, there is an exchange that happens.
Mhm.
And so, how do you be well and make sure your environment supports you being well and balanced also?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there's financial. So I know you all who've been a part of this series have had some financial coaching and things like that. We are about to touch on this in a little bit more detail, because I really want to talk about how do you be well when you're needing to track expenses and make a budget. Because financial wellness is huge, and and maybe you're not surprised by how often financial imbalance causes physical issues, causes emotional, spiritual, right? Because all of these things are interconnected with each other. So we're going to talk a lot more about this here in a minute when my guest shows up. Then there's occupational. And this one is connected to intellectual in a way, but this is really thinking about kind of like the job you do, right? What do you do that helps you bring finances to your life, right? And making sure that the occupation you choose, if you're able to really choose something that you love. Because, and this is just for me personally, when you end up getting connected with an occupation you love, one, I believe the finances come, and two, I just believe it facilitates greater happiness, which makes you a happier person. When you're happy around other people, your family. It just bleeds everywhere around you.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my sister actually earlier this weekend. We were just talking about how we've had jobs that have literally taken us down emotionally and mentally and even physically. And
Yes.
we were just laughing, but it's not funny, about how we would both call our mom on our breaks, like, Mom, I hate it here. Mom, and then my mom would say, I just got off the phone with your sister. And it was sad because we were literally saying the same thing. And we're actually now both, thank you, Jesus, at a point where we actually do enjoy our jobs. But we
Yeah.
did have to go through that, that time and finding ourselves in jobs that really took us down. And
Yeah.
and I remember sometimes feeling sick to go to work. That may seem dramatic to some, but it's a
No,
real,
that's real. That's real,
when you
because these things are connected.
I'm totally off balance. I mean, and the thought of it used to make me want to cry because I felt not only was there the negative energy we were talking about, there was so much negative energy. I wasn't happy in what I was doing. It literally and physically took me down every day. But I'm so glad I'm out of that.
But you got out of it. Yes, you got. And I tell people, even if it means you're gonna make less getting out of it, what you gain in your joy and happiness is just, it's irreplaceable.
Hmm.
And I want to really tie it back to when you talked about environment, finances. I think I love the whole perspective from the 8 dimensions of wellness. Because if we go to a doctor, they're only going to address wellness from the physical.
That's true.
But you keep saying all of these things are tied together. So if I'm going, they said the most heart attacks happen on Monday morning when
Yeah.
people wind up going to that job that they don't like and for years and years, or when you're stressed and you're in a crisis because you might not have budgeted, right? Now you put yourself in an emergency because you might have skimped, robbed Peter to pay Paul, and now you're losing sleep. So it's all of these different things. That's why I really love the way you're covering this from all of these different aspects, because all of them tie into your health.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's like a really great
Different aspects.
because the last one is social, right? Right. I mean, how can it not be? Because we are social beings.
Thank you for that.
We're created to love, we're created to connect with each other. And so this is another part of wellness that I would love to see us as a community, as people, as a country to do more connecting with each other socially and beginning to get some healing around that too, you
Yeah.
know?
I've noticed, I'm sure we've all watched the news. Unfortunately, it's the things that are bringing us together are not necessarily, I would say, positive things, but they are creating opportunities for us to, as you say, develop certain skills and have conversations,
Yeah.
perhaps in intimate settings or sometimes even more aggressive settings because of, sometimes the protests and but it's still, in a sense, forcing that social interaction, those conversations that are tough, and we're having to have them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's very powerful, Whitney,
mhm,
because before we went on live, the three of us were talking about how this is the first time in our lifetime, or that I know about, that we're all in the same place emotionally. We're all vulnerable.
mhm,
We're all going through the uncertainty. So we're emotionally in the same place, but we're isolated from one another
yeah,
socially. So it's
Yeah.
really such a weird place to be. And I'm curious, when it comes to social, it's like you said, it's important that we
Mm-hmm.
connect with one another, hugs are healing. And now, what does that mean for some of our participants now that we are not able to do that?
Right, right. So speaking of that, Sage, I actually really had an issue with the fact that we called it social distancing instead of physical distancing, because the language difference is important. We are still very, very social. Look at what's happening right now,
Yes.
right? We've got people connecting with us on Facebook. We got YouTube comments coming in. So this experience, even though virtual, is extremely social, right? So I had an issue with the fact that we're like social distancing. I really felt like we should have said physical distancing, because it gave this indication of isolation, which is not true. Physical isolation, but not social, because I do believe like that most of the social media platforms have been doing very well.
yeah,
The virtual platforms have been doing very well, and people are using different ways to connect to each other, just not physically.
And even the things that Whitney mentioned, this hard subject matter, the hard things that we've never wanted to talk about, whether it was inequality with economics or race,
Mhm.
or finally women taking leadership, these things are forcing us to have intimacy with one another because we're all so vulnerable. It's
yeah,
like I can't hide anymore because I stand the risk of loss just like you.
Yeah,
And it's very, when you say social, it's not just superficial social.
yeah, yeah,
It's like I can't visit my elders. I got to check in with them. If they're not technologically savvy, somebody will help them. And some grandparents are seeing their grandkids this way. And it's a lot of love that we didn't show or took for granted. So
yeah,
it's very interesting.
yeah. Awesome.
absolutely.
So I just wanted to bring this slide up one last time to remind us of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And hopefully you found this conversation helpful for thinking about all the aspects of what it means to be well. What I want to do now is I have invited a special guest to join me here. I'm going to ask her to come and join. We're going to do a bit of a conversation around budgeting and the financial wellness, right?
Mhm.
When your funds are limited. So I'm going to ask Donna Marie to join me.
Hello.
Hi, Donna Marie.
Hello, Sage. Hello, Whitney.
Hello. Thank you
So
for joining
thank
us.
you for coming and being with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we have an audience with us, and these are folks who are interested in tips on how to eat well on a budget. Don and I had a really great conversation about this. She had such really awesome tips to share, and I thought it would be more powerful to just hear it directly from her.
Give me one second. We're getting some feedback on
No, I was hearing it.
um let's see, because I don't want her interview to get too distorted. If you could start again, Nicole, because I'm not sure. Do you hear it from me?
I don't.
I don't hear it from you now, but let me ask you, do you have any other window or anything open on your computer, Nicole?
No, I had the PowerPoint
Actually,
open,
it's good
but I
now.
just moved it.
It's good now.
It's good now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Maybe it was when I had the PowerPoint up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Donna, would you mind introducing yourself to the room?
Well, hello. My name is Donna Marie, and I'm very excited to be here and to be a part of this conversation with you all. I certainly have been a mother on a budget. I am. My children are all adults now, but I raised 4 children as a single mother, using public assistance, living in public housing, and living in those low-income communities where there might be food deserts and what have you. So um, it was very important to me to be connected to the different programs in my community, like to understand, like, the best way to shop, to be considering even fresh vegetables, because oftentimes we buy the things that we can afford, and the things that we can afford oftentimes aren't the best foods for us. I mean, you can get a dollar burger at McDonald's, but you got to pay $1.50 for a bottle of water.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So just those type of things that oftentimes put us in a situation where it's like, okay, this is what I have. How am I going to feed these 4 children? On this budget, it might be $5.
Yeah.
It might be your last five. You know what I mean? And you scrape it together between gas, doing laundry, and figuring out, how to feed these children. That's all I got is $10 in my pocket. Something might have to go. And so, having lived that way, and wanting to feed my children in a healthy way and make sure that their bellies are satiated, I had to figure out something different than what I knew to do. What I knew to do. And so I have been taught things like, fill them up on starchy foods, because that's going to keep them full for a while. So buy a bunch of rice and make sure you got a bunch of potatoes and things like that. But then what we find out later on in our life that, those starchy foods break down into sugar. And that sugar affects your physical, right? Physical. And I ended up, about a year ago, being diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. Type 1. Yeah. So that's insulin dependent because my pancreas aren't working to produce or to break down the sugar that I was eating. So all that being said, how do I do this? How do I go about doing this? And so the first thing was I came up with a meal plan. I would take a calendar, such as like, just a regular calendar, a piece of paper. If I didn't have a calendar, because maybe I couldn't afford to buy a calendar, I was writing it out like this. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I would find a way that I could just create a calendar base, and in the squares, I'm putting in meal plans. So what did that take? What are the things that my family likes to eat? Well, spaghetti is a good one, right? Because it will fill you up, but it's inexpensive to make. So I would think, okay, spaghetti can feed my family for maybe two days, right? And so we plan the leftovers.
Mm.
We plan the leftovers.
Mhm.
And it helps you also to not eat the same thing all the time because we get bored, right? It's like, how many times, how many different ways can I fix chicken? I don't know. You know what I mean? But you're gonna have a meat, you're gonna have protein, that meat, you're gonna have a starch, the rice or the potatoes, and then you're gonna pick a vegetable, right? The way that we learn to do that though, we center the meal around the meat opposed to the meat, the protein being a particular portion of the meal and having more veggies on the plate and a little bit of starch, right? Okay, so this is what I do. I budget, I buy in bulk, and I find the bargains.
Budget, bulk, and bargains.
Budget, bulk, and bargains. So these newspapers that we get all the time and we want to just, we throw them out. I mean, I save them because the coupons in here. There's coupons in here, but also when you get these papers in your area, you can go through all the sales papers of the different stores that are in your area. Now you know who's got the bargains on meat, who's got the best deals on produce, and then the other ancillary items that you might need that are not food. So the other thing I do, in most low-income communities, there's probably a butcher or what do they call it, a carniceria, where you can find a butcher where you can buy meat packs. They'll sell you a pack of meat or a box of meat. So it'd be like you can get 5 pounds of ground beef, 2 pounds of chicken, a pound of bacon, a pound of hot dogs, and so on and so forth, right? So that's really cost efficient when you're looking at what am I going to feed my family, right? And how am I going to afford meat because meat is expensive. So I always find a butcher who can sometimes they will even modify those. I don't eat pork, so can I get this instead of that? Sometimes they'll work with you. We're talking about eating healthy, so I don't really use a lot of ground beef anymore. Usually I choose ground turkey or ground chicken for my recipes. I don't use a lot of, I still eat my bacon. I love my bacon, but I don't eat a lot of pork chops, ham hocks, things like that. I substitute those types of recipes with smoked turkey. And then I limit them. It's not that I will never eat a pork chop again, but I might just have a pork chop once in 2 months. And that was what I chose to do because I'm really wanting some pork chops right now. Right. So those are the basic things. Really, is finding a place where you can get that meat package or the meat box. Finding the places where you can find food available in bulk. We have a store in California where I'm from called Winco, and at Winco, it's like a box a box grocery store. So they have a lot of things that are in bulk. But also, when you go to this particular area of the store, they've got big, huge barrels of beans and different pastas and rices and soup starters, flour, sugar, things like that. If you buy flour or sugar or beans or rice or pasta or anything from these bulk areas, you're looking at the difference between, say, you buy a bag of rice. That bag of rice is probably a 1 pound bag of rice. It probably will cost you about $1.20, maybe 99 cents, depending on where you go. Well, that's not really going to last you, right? If you buy it from the bulk place, you can get that same rice for probably like 17 cents a pound. because you're just scooping in and dipping it in that bag and getting as much as what you need. Or you can do something like, I have another example. You could buy a 25-pound bag of rice, right? You find a 25-pound. I had to get this because of COVID, so I was looking for stuff, right?
Okay.
So you find your 25-pound bag of rice. That bag of rice is probably going to cost you $17 or $18. How much rice do I have, and how long is this rice going to last me to help feed my family, right? So it's going to feed my family for a while. It's one of my staple items. You know, you got your rice, your eggs, your milk, some certain things that you know that you're going to always use to cook with. I'm going to make sure I have cornmeal in my cabinet, sugar, so on and so forth. Buy those things in bulk. Buy them in bulk because you're going to save money. Let me see if there's anything else, because I did write some things down just to make sure I remember, because, you know, being a mom on a budget, you got to write stuff down too so you can remember. So create a menu plan, right? Either depending on how your money comes in, something that's bi-weekly or monthly. And then when you create that menu plan, what that also helps you to do is focus your shopping. It helps you to focus your shopping on the ingredients that you need in order to prepare the meal. Most of us have heard, don't go to the grocery store hungry, because you're gonna start being like, oh, I can get this, and you're gonna be picking up snacks and all kinds of stuff that your belly is like, well, you know, I'm gonna get some chips right now, right? But those are some of the things that we want to avoid if we're talking about how to eat healthy, right? And so we don't want to be big snackers. So if you create your menu plan, consider the things that you're going to get. So let's, if we can, maybe go back to the meal plan example. And I don't know if you can see this that good, but I just did like a week of, I'm trying to get into the frame, about a week of stuff, right? And so what I did was I said, on Sunday, this is just really basic, just dinner stuff, because we kind of can do breakfast and lunch in our head. You know, maybe we'll pick up some oatmeal for breakfast. We'll have some cold cuts that we'll have available for lunch, and some sandwich bread, stuff like that, right? But when you think about your meal planning, I have Sunday, we'll have spaghetti, salad, and toast. Monday, we'll have baked chicken, greens, and cornbread. Tuesday, we'll have leftovers. So maybe we'll put some chicken together with the spaghetti, right? Because we've prepared in our mind and in our meal planning that I don't want to cook every day of the week. Right. I'm a single mom, I'm busy. You know, and if you got a crock pot or one of those Instapots or something to cook, to do something, either cook all day or something you need to cook within an hour or two. I'm sorry. Somebody's getting hungry.
I was about to say the same thing. I was like, oh, is it lunchtime? I think it's past dinner, early dinner today.
But
baked chicken, greens, and cornbread, Joe. Anybody else heard that?
Oh, yeah, but and that's the inexpensive meal to make, right? Yeah. Because the other thing I'm gonna tell you is find a farmer's market that accepts EBT or food stamps. Because I know it's in California, it's a requirement. They don't always remember their equipment to accept EBT, you know? However, those options are there where you can go to the farmer's market. And that is really, if you do a comparison shopping with the veggies and the fruits that you would get at the farmer's market versus at the grocery store, 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out with a better quality of produce, and it's going to be less expensive. In Stockton, where I'm from, any fruit and vegetable at the farmer's market is probably anywhere from $1 to $1.50 a pound. Any fruit and vegetable. But you go to the grocery store, you know, summertime, you want that summer fruit, and it's going to cost you about $2 something a pound. So you want to consider farmers markets as well. Okay, so we have our leftovers on Tuesday, and that gives mom a break She's not having to cook every single night. She's not having to figure it out. If you have children who are a little bit older, maybe they can assist. And even your young children, get your young children involved in cooking, because this is how they learn those healthy habits. There was a time when my children were young, and I have 4 of them back to back to back. So they were about a year apart. So I had toddlers like all at the same time and whatever, to be like, get out of the kitchen, leave me, because you just want them to leave you alone so you can get to it. But what I found is I had one child. She loved to be in the kitchen with me. So guess what? She's the one who knows how to cook now. Who she does have a child of her own, but she's feeding that baby so healthy. She knows how to look for that farmer's market. She knows how to make those healthy choices. So anyhow, so we get to Wednesday, we got chuck roast and potatoes. We get to Thursday, we got tuna casserole and salad. And then maybe make Friday and Saturday a free day. I'm not cooking, figure it out. You got something in there, you got some leftovers, you got some stuff I got for you in the freezer over there, because those are the things that we said, well, we have children. So you got to consider the things that they might like to eat or whatever. And you might consider that they might be, you might have a day where you want them to be on their own.
Right.
So go ahead and go in that freezer and get you a chimichanga or one of those little frozen somethings.
Yeah.
Not as a norm though, right?
Yeah.
Because all through the week they're eating healthy meals. But every once in a while you want to give them a free day too. Just like when you diet, you might want a day to have that ice cream. You ain't supposed to be eating because you're on that diet. So,
And you're diabetic.
And you diabetic.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm a diabetic. So.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so here's the thing. So we got the menu for the week, right? And so this is what we say, okay, in order to make spaghetti, what do I need? I need the noodles, I need the meat, I need my fresh veggies that I'm gonna put in it. I'm gonna chop up some bell pepper and onion and maybe put some fresh basil in it and stuff. So I'm gonna think about all of those things. So when I'm writing my list, I'm thinking, how many of these meals am I going to need ground turkey for example? Okay, I'm gonna need ground turkey for the spaghetti. Let me see. I don't have any more ground meat on this week. So I'm thinking 1 to 2 pounds, depending on the size of your family, 1 to 2 pounds of spaghetti noodles, maybe 1 32-ounce jar of marinara. I need a spaghetti seasoning packet, 1 each of a bell pepper, a stalk of celery, an onion, right? But when I'm thinking about my veggies, I go back to my meal plan, because wait, I'm making baked chicken. I need onions for that baked chicken too. And I might want some bell pepper in that. When I'm making chuck roast, I'm gonna need some onions, potatoes, some carrots, some celery, right? When I make my tuna casserole, I'm gonna need some peas. I'm gonna need a can of tuna. I'm gonna need the noodles for that. And I said, I'm gonna make salad. So I'm gonna make sure I have enough salad greens in order to stretch for the different meals that I've planned, right? And then we'll have our free days. So just imagine that this whole month is filled in because you made the plan. You created a menu plan, and you can put your breaks anywhere you want to. They could be on Saturdays, one day. If you got Bible study on Monday or whatever, then make Monday a free day. If you got choir rehearsal on Friday or Wednesday, then make that your free day, or Toastmasters or whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, you think about all of the meals that you have in that month. So if I fill this all in, maybe I'm looking at my meat pack. I need 10 pounds of ground turkey. I'm going to need a 3-pound chuck roast. I'm going to need a 10 or 20 pound bag of potatoes. I'm going to need a 5-pound bag of onions. I'm going to need to get at least 10 bell peppers. You see where I'm going with this? And
I
so,
want to stop you. I have a comment from somebody on YouTube.
Yes.
Let me know. Can you all see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is coming from Miss Ely. She said, would you say it's best to shop monthly, bi-weekly, or just as needed? She said she's noticed that healthy foods cost more
Yes, it does.
than other food, and it seems to not last long. So what would be your recommendation or response?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your question, Ms. Ely. I would say that whether to shop monthly or bi-weekly or as needed, it really is a function of how your money flows into your household. If you get money once a month, then you might want to shop monthly. When you're talking about your fruits and veggies, though, you might want to do those bi-weekly, but you want to make sure that you're keeping in mind, I have to set this money aside because I'm going to need it later when I pick up my veggies for that week's of the meal plan. The other thing that you can do though is when you get your fruits and vegetables, one of the things that I've learned to do is to wash them right away, put them in a refrigerator. If you do that, then first they're just ready, accessible for you to use, cut, eat, cook with. But for your like your celery, your bell pepper, your onion, if you buy them in bulk, and it should be because healthy food is more expensive than other food, right? But if you go ahead and get those things and you chop them up and put them in freezer bags and put them in the freezer, now I have a cup of chopped onions right here. I can just go to dump those chopped onions in the skillet and start sauteing them for whatever I'm needing it for. So it's all about the meal planning part of it and understanding how your money flow comes in. And then, like I said, if you get those periodicals, you get those sales papers, look at them, open them up, and you will find where are the stores that you can get the things that you like to eat on a budget. I find that when I go to the Latin stores or here in California, I can get 10 limes for $1. If I go to one of the mainstream supermarkets, I might get 5 limes for $1.25. So it's all about understanding where you are and what's available where you are. And then sometimes you might have to just take a trip outside of your own community and find it if you have the ability to do that. But again, the farmers markets, buying the bulk meat packs and finding bulk foods. Remember, bargain and bulk and budget. When you shop like that, then that's where you're going to find that you're going to have a lot more savings. You'll have a lot more savings because buying a 12-ounce box of cereal is a lot more expensive than buying that bulk box of cereal that you can get maybe 2 pounds of cereal for $5 or $6 versus the one box for $4. Right. So those are the things you have to make, and you have to consider that also storing those foods to keep them fresh so that they don't go to waste, because a lot of times we might find ourselves throwing food away because nobody ate it, or we didn't use the bell pepper soon enough. So now it's all wilted looking and all of that.
Avocado for me. The avocado always, I turn around and it's gone. I'm like, I just bought it and it's avocados go quick.
Whitney, something like that though, and back to Ms. Ely's question, something like that, you might say, I'm not going to buy the avocados in this shopping trip, but I know I'm fixing tacos and I want a bomb guacamole tonight, right? So that might be, let me stop at the store on my way home and pick up a couple of avocados. Or let me strategically plan. I know that my farmers markets that I like to go to are on Saturdays and Thursdays. So maybe Saturday and Thursday, that's when I pick up the avocado, because that's when I'm going to go ahead and fix those tacos with the bomb guacamole.
And I have a trick with avocado.
Oh, okay.
If you open it up and you have half of it left and you have a fresh lemon, if you squeeze the lemon on that avocado,
Keep it from browning.
It won't brown.
That's right.
And I learned it, and it actually works.
Yeah.
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because this platform is really, Boss Initiative is about building our own success stories.
Yes.
So you can't really build your success without information, and even more importantly, applying the information.
Yes.
Because if you get the information but you don't apply it, it's like not having it at all.
That's true.
And from what I see and what I hear from you, you were very thorough, and we are so honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, there's a mindset that you had to obviously develop
Yes, yes.
in order to come to this place of almost like, because some of us, let's face it, I didn't have parents that explained anything to me. I just knew the lights was on, and I knew that I ate, and I knew I was loved by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really learn a lot, even though they kept things together.
Yeah.
So in a certain point of my life, it's almost like you reparent yourself by taking care of yourself. So there had to be a level of self-worth you developed.
Yes.
See yourself doing all the stuff you just described to us, and then passing it on to the next generation because your daughter
Yes.
does.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
You
So
know,
what was that like for you?
I would say it. Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of my background. My mother was an addict growing up. I was raised by my grandmother until she passed. She passed when I was 12. So I was still kind of emotionally on my own and so on and so forth. Kind of passed from pillar to post, and was that young girl who had the mindset of, well, if I have a baby, my baby gonna love me, and and I'm just being real, If I have a baby, me and that baby, we gonna ride till the wheels fall off, and they'll never leave me, and so on and so forth, right? Had a baby, ended up getting married, having more children, and I didn't have a husband who was very participatory in assisting with the finances and what have you at the time. That was not his priority, nor was it even in his purview, because that's what you do. So um, we divorced eventually, but I really, because I didn't have those people in my life, I depended very heavily upon the programs and services that were available in my community. I knew what kind of mother I wanted to be, and I knew what I wanted my children to have, in spite of my ability or lack thereof to give it to them. So I said, well, then how am I going to do this? Because I know I'm poor. That's my bottom line. I know I'm poor and I ain't got it like that. That's what it is. Those breakdowns, the emotional stuff, around, I'm getting emotional now, but just thinking about like, how am I feed my kids? Like, I got to get up and be concerned about whether or not they're going to eat. And sometimes that meant I didn't eat, right? So I leaned on those programs. We were homeless at one point. We were in a battered women's shelter at one point. And so in those types of programs, typically they have programming, right? And they're like, okay, these are the healthy ways and you got to come to this class and learn about this, and you got to come and you got to do this and you got to do that. Well, I said, what do I want my outcome to be? Because if I ignore all of this information that's out there, like I'm ignoring it, I'm actively ignoring it because I'm not going to it, then what is that saying about me? I needed to depend on those resources. And so the women who were parts of those programs that loved on me and my children, that poured into me, all of that was important because I didn't want my children to repeat the same cycle that I went through. And especially I have one son, but for my three daughters, I didn't want them to marry somebody who was going to be abusive or who wasn't going to be engaged in the family. I wanted them to understand how to feed themselves. And how to eat healthy so that they wouldn't have to deal with issues of heart disease, diabetes, and the likes. And I taught them too, that I taught them growing up that all of this affects your physical health. Yeah. So when you're in pain and you got this emotional stuff going on, all of that, it manifests in your body. And you'll end up, and I tell them I ain't getting no heart attack because I ain't forgiving somebody who made me mad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And those are the things that I taught my children. Like, I am not going to have a stroke because I let my job drive me crazy. If I'm going through that, it's time for me to look for something else, because this is not how I want to live, and it's not how I want to feel. And this is not what I want to mimic. I don't want my children to mimic this, and what they are going to learn is going to be from me. I'm that example. And so if they see me staying in an abusive relationship, then they might end up in one and thinking it's okay to stay. If they see me eating, crazy and I had a friend's mom who used to eat cornstarch. She just had a craving. Every once in a while, she just dip a spoon in some cornstarch. And I always thought that was odd, but she has
Crave it.
diabetes. She craved it, but she
Crave,
has
crave
diabetes.
it.
Yeah. And so, so thinking about those things, like, some people crave dirt and they eat that, and I learned this stuff by WIC, Women, Infants, and Children program. I learned budgeting. I began to like really look overall at like, how am I going to make it? Because this is all I got.
That's
And
right.
if this is all I got for the whole month, how am I going to make it and make it stretch on top of that? So I'll tell you another thing that was important. I ended up getting a deep freezer, so I can cut up my portions of meat and store them according to my meal plan. So I made sure I had a deep freezer. I made sure I had plenty of Ziploc storage bags, freezer bags, or what have you, because the way that we want to eliminate waste also and losing money behind food is to properly store things. If you got too much, freeze something. You might be able to take it out, thaw it out, and eat it later. You can freeze milk. You can freeze milk and thaw it out and drink it later. Just shake it up real good once it thaw out. Excuse me. And it will keep you. And so I just want to make sure I got everything just real quick, because ethnic stores often have good deals on food. Um, I talked about the freezer bags, meat portions. Clean and chop your vegetables to prepare them for the meals before you make the meals, and just put them in a freezer. If you do want that avocado or something fresh, make sure you plan to get that day. Um, Allow for your leftovers. Give yourself free days. Remember your breakfast and lunch items, and then you can even go online. Go online and look for recipes. Look for recipes. Find new stuff. Go to wherever, food.com or recipes.com or what have you. And they also, when you see a particular recipe, oftentimes they'll have the items that you need in order to create that recipe, and there'll be a shopping list at the bottom. And then one last thing, I'm here in California, and we have an EBT card, and it has an app. I don't know if you can see that, but this app that comes along with my EBT card tells me the last time it was updated, how much money I have on there after I spend it, where did I spend the money. It tells me ways I can save money and directs me to places where I can get coupons. And it also gives me a little place where it gives advertisements on how to earn money. So it's got like, if you want to do ship shopping or something like that to supplement your income, it's all on this app. And so I'm not sure if you also have something like that available where you are, but just keeping track of those things, making your budget, bulk, bargains. You find it, because you got to do the research, because it's different for every community. I think
I wanted to add one thing that Ms. Gregory said, that she here locally in Lexington, North Carolina. She wanted to mention that shopping at the Aldi store is very inexpensive. They have, really good prices on produce and different food items.
Mhm.
And I don't want to make it like I overlook someone, but Miss Tanya Ely just basically asked
Oh,
recommendations for
okay.
shopping weekly. But I think you touched on it. It's just with some fruits and vegetables that may
They're
not
right,
just
right.
week, or kind of schedule it knowing
Exactly.
when you're actually going to prepare that meal. So Miss Ely, I didn't want to overlook your comment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just if you're gonna do your fruits, maybe do your fruits once a week.
And I
And
have one question
mhm,
before we wrap up, because I know a lot of people, this is like kind of, we've always heard this. We know we should eat better. We know that there's ways we can budget, but hearing it maybe today could maybe really impact people to let me really start doing it. Some people have children. And so, children get stuck into, I want McDonald's. And it's hard to get, especially these children. I don't remember having a choice of what I was eating when I was young, but it's a lot of
you ask them, do they have McDonald's money? That's the
right.
response.
That's the first question. Yeah, exactly. But how do you transition from you've not really been eating healthy with your children? You've
Mhm,
pretty much let them, you kind of just do whatever.
mhm.
If you're going to implement a monthly or weekly food schedule that's planned out, at what age did you start doing this with your children? And what maybe a couple tips you could give to help that mother or father or parent
Transition.
Yeah, because that's right.
Okay.
It feels easy.
I was in my 20s. My children were still like 6, 4, 3, and 2. I just began to talk to them about like food. What do you want to eat tonight? Let's make it exciting. Really? Okay. Well, mommy's got to go grocery shopping. So what do you want? And so I started making food something exciting to learn about, to eat, or what have you. And then also I knew how historically the way that we eat as African Americans, we were eating with a lot of salt, a lot of fat, and things like that, and how we prepare food. So around in my 20s, I actually said, I don't need a ham hock. I can use a smoked turkey. I don't need the white rice. I might start using brown rice or experimenting with other dark rices. Quinoa is another good grain to use to substitute. So it's just all about making it something that would be fun for them, and talking to them about what they wanted, and then having them try stuff like it's fun. Let's try. You want some greens? But that let's have some greens today. You know what I mean? And just and ooh, doesn't that taste good? Because we're very influential. We can be very influential, right? And so and then showing them like, I mean, they certainly couldn't say, oh, I like this better than the McDonald's. They're not going to make that distinction, but it's better for them than the McDonald's. And maybe you can just start saying, we'll do McDonald's maybe once a month and let it be a treat, right? And then eventually my kids stopped liking McDonald's. They was like, McDonald's, ugh.
Because you start tasting the difference.
You start tasting the difference in your food. When you're eating good, then when you're not. You can taste the oil in those fries. You can taste all of the preservatives in those burgers. Like it makes my face do like that.
But we're gonna. I don't know, Miss Nicole, if you had anything else you wanted to add to her.
No. I know we're coming to the end. Like I just thought this was a great conversation. So I was really happy that Donna could be with us today to share firsthand.
We're definitely going to hashtag budget, bulk, and bargain. That's going to be the hashtag.
Yeah.
There so that we can remember. And before we wrap up, for everyone that's still watching, again, thank you all for continuing to stay in tune and get this good information that these ladies have given to us. I know I'm over here jotting down like, okay, then do this and do that. You all can definitely apply it to your lives. But before we go, as we always do, we do like to give gift cards away. So we're going to have, and of course, we're going to challenge you all to, they're going to be gift cards to grocery stores. We're going to challenge whoever wins to be conscious about what you're buying. You don't have to, but it's just being more conscious when you were going to the grocery store. What can I do with this? What can I actually get that's going to, one, stretch a little bit and actually be healthy? So I'm going to turn it back over to, do you have anything to say?
Nicole has actually prepared 2 questions.
Perfect. So Nicole, go ahead. We're going to have you ask your questions. And those watching, please put your comment in the comment section. And whoever one I see first, that's who gets it.
First question, name 2 dimensions of wellness.
2 dimensions of wellness.
Yes. I gave you 8, so I'm asking for 2.
Okay, we'll give you some time to think about it. Couple seconds.
Do we have any responses?
Well, listen, let me tell you. Miss Ely said, all of them.
Wow.
Work, Bethany.
Yes.
Yes.
Did she know?
Boom, 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 boom,
She
boom.
nailed it.
Okay.
She nailed it all the way.
Yeah.
She takes all the prizes.
All right. So congratulations, Miss Bethany Ely, and I'll be in contact with you so I can get that to you either this week or sometime next week. All right. So.
And the last question comes from Donna's section. It's a new question.
Oh, okay.
Name the 3 B's. Whitney just said it's a hashtag. Let's see if you were paying attention. There are 3 B's we mentioned. I want to see if anybody else caught them.
And Bethany, give someone else a try. Just
well, we know Bethany got it.
So we'll see who else can get it. A couple seconds, so a few seconds on that one. And again, it was the 3 B's that Miss Donna mentioned.
I feel like I want to give a hint.
Give him a minute because Whitney just said it because she said I wrote
Yeah,
those.
she wrote it down. That's what made me think of it as a question.
Yeah,
I just said it and wrote it down.
It's a great takeaway for all of us, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know Bethany is itching to just
I
say,
know. You already know she know it.
Is Brandy not in the room
you
today?
know what? Miss Spencer is not here, and I was definitely looking for her because between her and Miss Ely, they definitely gonna be like ping pong and like.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So I guess Miss Ely, do you have it? If no one else has it,
I'll give a few more seconds on it, and again, it's the 3 B's that Miss Donna mentioned as to how she was kind of like the in terms of your shopping and
Yeah.
about, preparing herself for the month.
you might have to come up with another question, Nicole. I thought that was a fairly easy question.
I know. Darn. Okay. Well, if it doesn't pop up, so here's the last question. And we'll just let this be an open-ended. So whoever answers first, you'll probably be right. But maybe name one thing you're going to do moving forward related to budgeting.
Related to what
Yeah.
you learned today.
Related to what you learned, something new you're going to do.
Anyone can answer that one. So we have someone. Miss
Coupon
Tanya, she's gonna coupon. So
Great.
Good.
awesome.
All
So
right.
the both of the Miss Ely's,
Wonderful.
yeah,
That means that this knowledge is being transferred to throughout the family.
That's awesome. This is great.
Today, today was really what this platform is designed to do. And that is to empower, anybody that is listening. I felt so much love in this particular session. I don't know if it's just a sisterly thing or what, but I felt a lot of love
Yes.
because there was so much that we want to foster an idea of self-worth and self, like loving yourself enough to see yourself and vision yourself being a better self.
Yes.
Whether it's buying beans, because I like buying beans because the beans I can take them and put them in a pot, and then I always know if I got beans, I got a meal.
Yeah.
And just doing little small things to say I'm worth the change that I got to put in.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you really exemplified today.
Yeah.
I was honored to have you on this platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I just also want to just thank you again. And one of the things that stood out to me as the program coordinator over the Family Self-Sufficiency Program is when you said, you took advantage, you're taking advantage of these resources.
Yeah.
Yes, oftentimes, and I'm gonna be transparent, it's hard to get people on board and come listen. You never know what you're going to take away. That's why I'm always grateful for Ely, both of Miss Ely's, as well as the people who always constantly participate, because I'm telling you, the information is incredibly valuable.
It is.
I just thank you for even saying that. You said, hey, I want better. I want this. And I wish more people were online to hear that. So hopefully somebody tells a friend, tag a friend, and they hear that within our communities here locally, that they take advantage of the resources and the information that we're giving for free. Like, come get it. We got it, So I just want to thank you for that and sharing your story, because I'm pretty sure that plenty of people can relate. So
Absolutely.
Well, Whitney, it reminds me of when we were talking about the intellectual part. Sometimes you have to learn new information to realize the world is not flat.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so like Donna was saying, like I also appreciated the fact that she said it was accessing resources that begin to help to change some things for her, right?
I had to read it. I had to get
Yeah.
the handouts and the little flyers and all of that. And I read it. I put it on my refrigerator so I can remember it. You know?
Yes, a flyer or a letter might come by because Whitney does a phenomenal job at getting the information out there.
Yeah.
And somebody will just, before they even read it, just put it aside.
Yeah.
And then the date comes and goes. So you're right, accessing what limited resources, because
Yeah.
right now we're in the middle of an election, are we not?
Yeah.
And we want to be represented, and we want social programs to actually be something. So
Yeah.
if you don't use the social programs that you have,
They'll cut
so
the funding.
They
that's
do.
something
Cut
they
the
cut
first
funding.
thing
So
they do is they cut those social programs that are there to assist people like me and your clients.
mhm.
And it's they are germane. They are so essential to our ability to survive sometimes when when you're dependent on government assistance. I would encourage you to put a garden in your backyard. Start saving some of those seeds because the seed from a bell pepper will produce another
True.
bell pepper.
It's true.
The celery,
True.
if you
Your
put it in the
onion,
ground, it'll
all of
produce
that
another
stuff.
celery. You don't even have to worry about produce anymore if you properly compost and get rid of your scraps in a way that will keep you having food in your own garden.
And the
And you
farmer
don't have to worry
market,
about pesticides and the farming of it and all of that kind of stuff. Because
but
I'm allergic to that.
the farmers markets that you spoke of, I was glad
Yeah.
you spoke, because sometimes our options are limited. And
Hmm.
then if we are eating that Southern diet, we
Hmm.
don't realize that we could go to a store for Latinas or a Korean store
Hmm.
and
Yep.
find things that are less expensive. So
So
you
many
gave us some really good information. Me and
things.
Whitney, we were taking notes for ourselves, right, Whitney?
Absolutely.
Oh, both of you.
But again, thank you both for taking time to be here out of your busy day. And we have some ladies that are thanking you as well online, saying thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
they're saying that the information was helpful. And Bethany, I just want to say the three B's were budget, bulk, and excuse me,
Bargaining.
yeah, budget, bulk, and bargain.
Hmm.
Those three B's.
Look for
And
those bargains.
and I will reach out to you all via email about your gift cards and congratulations. So thank you again. We're going to wrap it up.
Thank you guys for this
Thank
We'll
you.
see
time.
you
Thank you
all
so much.
next
We'll
month.
see you next time. We'll be back on the 21st of September. Talk to
Awesome.
you soon.
Thank
Our
you.
seminar will be Got Kids.
Ooh.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.